Hello, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer and a Christian. And today, some sad hearts today from the tragedies over the weekend. Just want to talk about those issues and if there's anything we can do and not feel hopeless and helpless. Like and comment on my video and subscribe to support my channel if you would. That'd be terrific. The president's spoken on this issue. You've seen myriads of politicians and others talking about these two young men, if you will, killing dozens of people, wounding dozens of people. And all for what? What's this all about? Why does it seem worse than ever? In American history, we've had wars and rumors of wars. If you want to talk about division, go back to the 1850s, before the Civil War. I've thought about that, and how does that connect to what is happening today? And it's what creates that strong division. And I believe, especially in my Christian faith, it's the fallibility of human beings to start with. They have a sinful nature that has to be overcome. And that's number one. But that division amongst people usually come down to very fundamental reasons. What do I mean by fundamental? Examples. Abortion is one. Abortion means the ending of a human being, because we have laws that allow abortions all the way up, and even laws have been enacted after birth for the death of a child. Gender issues. Are you born one gender and desire to be another? Do you desire to be with somebody of the same gender? All of these things are fundamental beliefs, core beliefs. Belief in God, belief in nature just accidentally coming into existence. All those things are very fundamental. And when you feel those fundamental beliefs you have are being threatened in some way, you get nervous, you get excited, you get scared. And when people get scared, they do, it either can motivate them to do good, like protect yourself from an accident, protect yourself from illness, or protect yourself from a burglar. Protect yourself from the possibility of a shooter like that coming into a store where you're at, coming into your house. And those things are very fundamental. They really get a hold of you, and they catch your attention. Otherwise, we go about our daily lives. We don't even notice this stuff hardly. One of the problems, too, with these, a lot of shootings and behavior like that, you start to become numb to it, to the point of doing nothing. What do we do next? Well, we have leaders. We have spiritual leaders. We have other leaders who try to make sense of it. We have politicians that try to take advantage of it. I always am concerned about whether these politicians are actually doing this for just their gain, or they're really trying to solve something. Because every time it happens, the argument's always the same. One side is about gun control. The other side is about gun liberty, if you will. And that takes me to another point. The Second Amendment has been a big argument for a long time. It's an amazing thing put into the Constitution, but it's a representation of liberty. You're allowing people to have weapons to protect themselves. And that is an image or an icon of liberty. The government's protecting your right to have that, not giving it to you. These life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are rights we already have, and that is a sign of liberty. But with liberty comes responsibility. Because with liberty, you have freedom to do things. But if you're not responsible, that's when bad things happen. Bad things happen to you, and bad things happen to people around you. Now, what do we have with these young men? From what I understand, yes, the weapon is part of the issue. There are restrictions. We have restrictions on weapons, restrictions on what kind of a weapon you can have. That's part of the issue, but there's all kinds of those weapons across the country. People own them, and they never would even think of doing something like this. So we've got to go deeper. We've got to go to the fundamentals. What is causing them to do this? I have worked in and around the Boy Scouts of America for over 50 years. I liked what the program had to say. It dealt with fundamentals. It dealt with helping originally young men or boys to become responsible, mature human beings. The fellow that started, Lord Baden-Powell, he was involved in warfare, saw young men come from Britain to fight in a war and virtually die because they had no capability or maturity in the outdoors. But it wasn't just the training process of camping, if you will. It was that the standards they used, the oath and the law, on my honor. It was important because each part of that oath and law had meaning. And they learn what that meaning is. And they're fundamental about how to live with themselves, how to live with others, with honor. And that's a big deal. Today, the scouting program is much more broad than that, covering not only the young boys and men, also young girls and young women. The Boy Scouting has had over 30 years already with co-ed programs for 14 to 21, and then recently the younger ages, from kindergarten on up. And the parents I see that bring those kids, they really believe that this program has something to offer them, fundamental reasons. Today our church memberships seem to be dropping, and that was always a critical and original part about forming this nation. Not that it's a theocracy, but most people believed in what the fundamental beliefs of what was in the Bible, the Ten Commandments, if you will. And it's melded together with programs like the scouting programs, also the Girl Scout program, and other youth programs. There's many kinds. And they're fundamental in their beliefs in honor and doing right, the golden rule, treating people as you'd want them to treat you. Those are all very fundamental reasons and ways to live. They're not hard or magic, but they might be at times difficult to get it right because of what happens in life. Life can be difficult. We're not going to live forever in this world. I believe you're going to live forever, but in a different realm, if you will. But here and now, we have fundamental ways to live. And we have law and order, and there are people who choose to ignore them, to fulfill their desires, to defend themselves in some way. These kids apparently were so afraid or felt so cornered that they had to lash out and either defend themselves or destroy an evil they perceive. And of course the people who were killed had they weren't attempting to do anything to these people. And so there was no defending themselves. There was no reason for this except this fear, hate, whatever words you want to use. Hate is thrown around so much now that it's taken I believe it's softening its meaning. Politicians and journalists overuse these things because they're exciting. They're generates excitement or drama, and it gets overused to the point people start to ignore it. But these kids are doing this out of some fear, out of their experience, their family experience, those around them. They're finding out that at least one of these was involved in some kind of hate or terror type group on the internet. That seems to be an issue too. People just being on the internet without close contact with others, I think become isolated. And when they become isolated again, they become afraid, and they start to focus on what they're afraid of, and it goes from there. It gets worse and worse. But I work pretty hard in that scouting program to help these youth grow up with some form of honor and the golden rule, helping their fellow person, fellow man, fellow woman, and to do their best, to do their duty to God and country. And we try to help them and learn to be good citizens. So there you are, the usual back and forth struggle after these terrible events. We try to get ahead of them, try to raise these kids well. Proper care, proper discipline. Discipline is very important, and doing these things properly. So in these tough times, though, get out there, find a place where you can help kids to learn and grow properly, and get out there and just make it a great day.